came about, I always get asked how. What was the inspiration? What was the experience? Where did you get the idea? And I always am sort of baffled, even though they ask the question over and over, so you'd think I would have an answer, and I've decided that my new answer is because of Scott, who is my husband. Because the opening scene, the match banquet, is based very, very largely on an experience that he and I had chaperoning junior prom together back when I was teaching high school in Provo. Because public high school is such a lucrative field, we used to make a little extra cash on the weekend by chaperoning the dances. And we would chaperone the post-game dances, which were awesome because we could turn away drunk students at the door, and periodically a student would ask me to dance, and it was just a very good time. But then the event we really liked a lot was prom, and I hope it's still this way at Tippview. It was at the time. About, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks before the dance, there was this list of junior girls that would start circulating through the senior boys. And it was girls who hadn't been asked to the dance, and the senior boys, it was often a particular group, and I don't know how they chose each other, but they would make sure that all those girls had a date to the dance, so that every girl at the school got to attend her junior prom. And that was because prom was a big deal. I mean, it was a big deal at Cedar High where I went, but not like this. Like, there was no red carpet, there was no announcing of the names of each couple as they came down the steps and everything, and the parents come and take pictures, and so to miss that night would be pretty hard. But everyone was paired off and together, and it's really beautiful. It's held at the courthouse. So file that away in my mind, I guess, because later I would use that experience. But then Scott also lured me under false pretenses by being an English major, an English teaching major when I met him, who then defected over to the dark side of economics. And so now, not only can he read everything I write, he can also analyze it and how likely or unlikely situations are to happen. But he and I were having a conversation about marriage, and it wasn't one of those conversations, don't worry. But we were wondering, he and I were talking about, like, how do you define marriage, and who gets to choose what marriage is in light of a lot of things that have been going on? And that was a conversation that triggered the idea, well, what if the government got to choose everything about marriage? Who you were paired off with, when you got married, how many children you had, just everything. And certainly it's not a new idea. I mean, matchmaking has been around for a long time. But Scott was definitely the one that thought, maybe you could write an algorithm for that. So I expect him to come up with that anytime now. But he was great. And then one more experience that I think probably played in on some subliminal level to having the idea come to fruition for the book was when he and I were living in Ithaca, New York for 5 years while he was going to graduate school. And we had the singular experience of being house parents in a sorority. So we lived in a little room tucked away in the same building as all the sorority girls, and we took care of them, and it was very exciting to be pregnant in the sorority. And I always tell the story about one night all the frat boys came over to invite the girls to a dance, and I was just happened to be the one closest to the door, so I opened it, huge, pregnant, wearing my awesome Old Navy pregnancy maternity clothes, not like, I mean, it was an Ivy League school, so the girls dressed fancy. And they just looked at me, they were naked, they looked great. I mean, not totally naked, but like loincloths and tiki torches, and they were about to launch into this ritualistic dance or something, I guess, to ask the girls in a creative way. It's not just in Utah, people. And they just looked at me, and one by one they ran away. And I was like, girls, you have to find those boys. They think they came to the wrong place, to the sorority of pregnant Mormon women. But we were surrounded all the time by girls and dating and matching and kissing and all these different things. And so I think, thanks to Scott, I got to experience everything that came together that gave me the idea for the book. I started writing it in September or October, I'm never sure which, of 2008. And I kind of just worked on it on the back burner because I knew that nobody might want this. I knew it wasn't a good fit for my publisher, Deseret Book, who I loved, but they don't publish dystopian fiction. And then as time went on, I felt more and more encouraged and decided to submit it and find an agent. And then everything went from there. But the release day was Tuesday, and it was really exciting. I've never had a release day before. My other most recent book, Being 16, that was out last January, And we just wandered into the store and we're like, there it is. It's out. Who knew? That's awesome. Someone sent me a picture of it, and that's how I knew to look. But I was thinking about it a lot because I've never had like a day where I knew the book would be coming out and I knew people would be able to go in and buy it. I've never had anything like that before. And so I was getting kind of reflective and weepy, as I tend to do when there's an opportunity. And I wrote a blog post that I'm probably just going to read now because it took a while to write, so I thought it was probably the best thing I could come up with. I'm not very good on the fly. So what it was called was Today, and it was just posted on Tuesday. And I said, here's what I could have done for Match by myself. Nothing. I couldn't have written it without a family and a husband who believed in me. I couldn't have prepared it for submission without readers, someone who have been reading my book since that first draft of Yearbook in 2003. I've been writing for not an incredibly long time, but for 8 years, every day. Well, give or take now and then, but some people have read every single one of those books, particularly my family, and some of them have read multiple drafts. And I am just so grateful because in the beginning it wasn't fantastic. Sometimes I'm not convinced it's very good now, but they are always there to read it and tell me how they feel. I couldn't have sold the book without my fantastic agent. I couldn't have made the book worthy of publication without my editor. I couldn't have designed the beautiful cover or the interior or done the copy editing. And the cover is so important because I see people pick it up and say, this looks so good. And I had nothing to do with that, you know. But that's the thing that makes people pick up the book. So I'm very grateful for her as well. I can't put publishing muscle or publicity behind it. I can't take my author photos or pictures of my book. I don't own a bookshop, and I can't recommend this book or put it into anyone's hands. I'm not a book blogger who reviews and promotes books and whom people trust for recommendations. And ultimately, I can no longer read it new. I can no longer experience the story for the first time. So I did what I could. I won't lie, I worked very hard on this book, and I care about it deeply. But it now belongs to my children, my parents, my husband, my sisters, my brother, the critique readers, my agent, my editor, the designers, my publicists, the teachers, the librarians, the bloggers, the booksellers, and you. It now belongs to you.